Our group is PEPA, and we are presenting immigration detention centers.
Yep. So, our intro, what are immigration detention centers? Immigration detention is the government's practice of incarcerating people as they go through the deportation proceedings to determine whether they will be deported or allowed to remain in the United States. They're just basically used to like house immigrants and stuff, but they're more like a jail. And then how do immigration detention centers relate to civil law? The system, well, first of all, let's define civil law. Civil law is a system of law concerned with private relations between members of a community rather than criminal, military, or religious affairs. So, immigration detention centers are based under civil law, which is different from criminal law. This allows for the status and conditions of the immigration centers to be kept more private and hidden from the public eye, which is really dangerous. So yeah, that's how they clash. And then also under this, they are also based under administrative law because administrative law, oftentimes there'll be like an initial administrative hearing that can be appealed to internal boards for immigration processes. So it gets kind of like sticky with those two. So next slide. Um, so when did the growth of immigration centers begin and how did immigration even originate from? Detention centers began in New York on Ellis Island, where a bunch of immigrants from Ireland and everywhere would come in through that main port. However, within the past 100 years, it has become a really bad issue in the United States. The Illegal Immigration and Immigrant Responsibility Act is one of the things that caused this issue. This act was brought to Congress in 1996, but was ultimately effective starting April 1st, 1997. And what it did is it strengthened immigration laws in the United States, which made it basically easier to detain immigrants for less intense crimes. So with the rapid growth, I have some charts and numbers on the next slide. So as you can see, like 1973, 2,370 immigrants detained each day. And now we see in 2019, that number is 55,000. So we can see why this has become such a crazy issue and why it relates to, in the next slide, we'll see like privatization and stuff, because the immigrant detention centers are just getting way too full. So first, let's like define privatization. Privatization is the transfer of a business, industry, or service from public to private ownership and control. It basically is a serious issue when it comes to immigration detention centers because in these private facilities, conditions are easier to hide. So we really don't know what's going on. All we can really see is what the owners want us to see. How does the US government utilize privatization? Well, since ICE has been detaining so many immigrants, space in the normal detention centers was getting way too low. So the US now signs contracts with private facilities to use them. And within these facilities, like food quality, living conditions, and like major crimes such as sexual assaults are often kept from the public. And the reason that these are used now, well, the main reason is for profit, because ICE profits as well as the owners of the private facilities. So we can see that really the concerns and well-being of immigrants is just really not a concern for the US government. Next slide.
Going back to conditions and well-being not being of main concern, it is not unknown that these living conditions, as I previously said, within detention centers are not of main concern when it comes to the government. Regarding the Irvine County Detention Center in Azalea, Georgia, Kennedy 2020, A 7-page handwritten letter was constructed in August of 2020 by a woman who goes by Anna in order to protect her identity. In this letter, she is describing the horrible and inhumane living conditions that she was currently going through as she was detained within this detention center. Following with, this detention center does not pay attention to or comply with adequate maintenance or biosecurity and hygiene conditions for living. Our unit has leaks in the roof, leaks in the plumbing, fungus on the shower walls, as well as water leaks in the surroundings and drips. The toilets give out bad odor, black water, and the basins have leaks. Towels have to be used so water does not flow across the floor and cause accidents or develop a bad odor. Insects are present, cockroaches, ants, spiders, etc. Kennedy 2020. Another infamous detention center that is known for neglect and misconduct is the Louisiana ICE Detention Center, Silva 2023. Mitch Gonzalez, the Associate Director of the Southeast Immigrant Freedom Initiative with the Southern Poverty Law Center's Immigrant Justice Project, said people with open wounds are not getting the treatment that they need. People on crunches being told that they don't have a humanitarian interest in being released, even though they're not a danger to anyone, and they have people waiting for them at home. People detained for upwards of a year unnecessarily. Silva 2023. As previously stated, it is not unknown that the living conditions in these facilities simply are not livable, and yet once again, that is obviously not a priority to enhance or upgrade their hospitality or much needed services that they currently do not provide. Next slide, please.
Alright, differences between detention centers. There are three different types of detention centers, which are family detentions, children's detention, and adult detention. Many different things happen in each one of these three detention centers. Family detention is the inhuman and unjust policy of jailing immigrants' parents with their children, including babies. More specifically, centers that hold mothers and children. According to Detention Watch Network, in 2021, the Biden administration temporarily ended and then restarted the Immigrant Protection Protocol, MPP, also known as the Remaining in Mexico program, which requires many immigrants seeking asylum in the U.S. Mexico border to stay in Mexico while awaiting their immigration hearing. MPP is another form of government separation of families. As of December 2021, the Biden administration has stopped detaining families. Children's detention centers. Detention is highly traumatizing for children who are less able to understand explanation as to the reason why they have been detained. Children who are alone or separated from their children or guardians are particularly at risk in places of immigration detention. According to Legal Services of Children's Unaccompanied Immigrants, children under age 18 must be placed in custody of the Office of Resettlement (ORR) of the Department of Health and Human Services (HHS) within 72 hours of the operation by immigration officials. They also be placed in removal proceeding, which means they will need to be appear before an immigration judge who will decide if they can stay in the U.S. The ORR has three different placement levels, which are secure facility, juvenile halls, staff secure facilities, and shelters. Most children are placed in shelters. All children placed in custody of the ORR have a right to be released to a family member, another caring adult, or a licensed entity pending the outcome of the removal proceedings. Adult detention is for adults, which includes any gender with the age of 18 and above, which is in there they provide for the safety, secure, and human confinement of persons who are detained while awaiting trial or sentencing and hearing of their immigration status or deportation.